The 7 things you should be talking about today. Number 7.
This is an amazing story out of Dothan, Alabama. A female juvenile was in the middle of a kidnapping attempt. She was almost kidnapped, and luckily, hotel staff saw this and intervened. A 46-year-old man, Stephen Ayers, was arrested at a hotel in Dothan, Alabama, after the victim reported, this was after they had caught him, made unwanted sexual advances, touched her inappropriately, and forced her into a hotel room when she tried to leave. He was charged with first-degree kidnapping and sexual abuse and is being held without bond at the Houston County Jail. Now, why was a minor at a hotel in Dothan, Alabama, where a guy could grab her and throw her in the room? I don't know the answer to that question. It's not really important. But the reality of this is this guy off the street, and somebody saw something happening, stepped in, and stopped it. That's a very important thing. They should be honored for that.
Number 6.
Crime Stoppers Metro credited 135 public tips for helping law enforcement identify Damian McDaniel. This is an individual who has been charged with a lot of crimes in the Birmingham Metro. Why? Well, because he's the guy who shot up the lounge there at 5 Points South, and another shooting that apparently had like 11 deaths all included, 29 injuries. I mean, this guy, a monster. Anyway, he's been charged with 37 felonies. The Crime Stoppers got 135 different tips on that. The organization has facilitated over 3,000 arrests through anonymous tips. So it's nice to see a little positive stuff here about people helping. So apparently not all snitches get stitches, because in this case, they get cash rewards, and they're honoring them because it's a good tip for law enforcement, and it helps them catch the bad guys. So they're talking about that, and it's good. Good for Birmingham.
Number 5.
I always thought it was funny to watch Alabama politicians celebrate School Choice Week, mostly because they'd had opportunities to do real school choice in the state and chose not to. Well, this year's a little different. They had an opportunity to do real school choice in the state, and they did. Yeah. Now there's a celebration going on of National School Choice Week. Eligible students here in the great state of Alabama can get up to $7,000 annually for private or parochial school tuition, or $2,000 for homeschooling expenses. You're hearing about all the problems with no good local city school board members, some alleged crack dealers, drug dealers. They didn't deal crack. Ryan Renaud was accused of dealing marijuana. I apologize for that. And people who want more drag queens in schools, they're very upset about the idea that some money's going in to places that aren't government schools. So they're very sad about it. You might hear about how all that money's going away, and they're very sad. Oh, so sad.
Number 4.
Furthering his commitment to national security, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to create a large-scale, multi-layered Iron Dome missile defense system to protect the United States from threats like ballistic, hypersonic, and cruise missiles, with all components developed domestically. Now, Israel is a much smaller country, so their Iron Dome thing is a little more practical. This seems wildly impractical. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. It seems wildly impractical. But this is the conversation they're having. Trump highlighted the success of Israel's missile system as inspiration and appointed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to lead the initiative. Congressman Dale Strong expressed full support for this, noting that Redstone Arsenal and North Alabama are ready to contribute to the program's development and deployment, and they absolutely will. Again, we'll talk about buyouts here in a second. If I was in the defense industry in North Alabama, I would suggest that you look towards taking that buyout.
Number 3.
In a sweeping and controversial, put that in quotes, move, President Donald Trump is offering buyouts. I was just talking about those. To millions of federal employees who resign by Thursday, February 6th, as part of a larger effort to overhaul the federal workforce and enforce in-office attendance. The administration expects 5 to 10% of government employees to accept the offer. That seems like a really, really big number. Most of these people are expected to be in Washington, D.C., obviously. Unions are saying, no, don't do this. And they say that this is creating a hostile work environment. How? I don't know. It's just something I think that they're saying. It could save up to $100 billion annually. My suggestion to you, if you're a government employee listening to this right now, is that you not take the buyout. Let all your bad coworkers take the buyout, and you guys will be okay. Because if you're listening to this show, you're good. You're good.
Number 2.
The Trump administration's abrupt federal spending freeze has been paused by a judge until like Monday. It's intended to align with recent executive orders targeting foreign aid and diversity programs. It caused chaos and threatened the interruption of essential services like Medicaid, etc. You know what I like to call this? Ready? I've been using this term a lot. You may have heard it in the news. Malicious compliance. The executive order goes out, and all of a sudden they're like, fine, then we'll just shut down all the Medicaid portals. That's what we'll do, because Medicaid, and then they're like, no, you got to reopen those Medicaid portals. And everyone pretends, well, that had nothing to do with that bull crap. This is malicious compliance. The decision has caused confusion nationwide as local government, schools, and nonprofits scramble to understand the impact. On the news, they're saying the Head Start programs were closed down this morning. Find me a Head Start program that has been closed down this morning. Put that on the news. That is garbage and just talk. The critics will whine. The critics will gnash their teeth. They don't matter.
And now time for the number 1 thing you should be talking about today.
It looks like President Donald Trump's nationwide mass deportation plans have led to multiple arrests here in the great state of Alabama, with ICE detaining individuals in Fultondale and Huntsville, sometimes beyond the original warrants. And by the way, I love this stuff that you're hearing from the media. They're arresting people who aren't criminals just because they're with them. So let me see if I understand this correctly. I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. They're targeting criminals that they already know where they are, who have done other things besides entering the country. When they go to get them, they find other people there who are also illegal, and they arrest them as well. And I'm supposed to feel bad for them? They're running around with criminals? Who runs around with other criminals? Do you know? Who runs around with other criminals? What do you call those people? Usually criminals. That's who runs around with other criminals. Like-minded people run around with like-minded people. That's how all of this usually works. So criminals running with criminals. And I think if you roll in and you're like, hey, this guy raped 3 people and then they let him out of jail, and now we found him here living in this place, and there's 6 other people there who are also illegal, like you're living with a rapist and you're illegal, your judgment's bad. Out. I think that's completely fine. Local officials, including Mobile County Sheriff Paul Birch, have pledged full cooperation, offering transport and jail space for detained immigrants as Trump increases ICE quotas to at least 1,200 per day. That's awesome. Immigration advocates warn that conditions are becoming increasingly perilous, urging undocumented residents to remain cautious as the enforcement intensifies statewide. Hey, listen, you know what you should do? I'm going to be an immigration advocate here for a second. Advocate. Put it in quotes there. You should leave. You know what you should do? You should leave the country. That would be the right thing to do. You probably need to leave the country because this is getting very perilous for you. It's increasingly perilous that you might be punished for your crimes. So I think the best thing for you to do would be to get the hell out of my country. That would be the best thing for you to do. So just go ahead and leave. And you know what? If you left this country right now, you would deny Donald Trump the numbers that he's going to tout for how many people he's arrested. So it's sort of like another way to really stick it to Donald Trump, right? You just leave the country on your own, then Donald Trump can't arrest you. You'll show him. But the advocates are telling them, don't open your door. Don't do all, putting cops at risk, by the way, by doing this. And they're doing all these things where they're like, oh, these poor illegals. I'd say I feel bad for them, but I think it's more likely that I feel nothing for them. That would probably be the more accurate thing. It reminds me of the scene in Mad Men where the guy is in the elevator with Don Draper, and he's like, every time I think about you, I feel really sad for you. And then Don Draper looks at that guy and goes, who's Ted Mosby, by the way, from How I Met Your Mother. And he turns to him and he goes, well, I don't think about you at all. And that's essentially where I am with these illegals. I just feel bad that you think this is what our country's become. Well, cool. I don't think about you at all. I am glad that they're deporting these people. I know I'm off on a little tangent here. That's okay, because we're about to take a quick break here. But you can weigh in right here, right now. It is all very simple. Get your questions in for 10 with him by talking or texting your questions right here. 205-545-9950. That's 205-545-9950. Don't forget, Matt Murphy will be with us here in just a bit as well. We'll talk with him about all these evil things that the government's doing that everyone should be freaking out about. Oh, we'll continue right here. I'm Dale Jackson. This is the fastest hour of radio anywhere on your radio dial.
You're listening to News and Views with Dale Jackson.